الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I ask Allah to make this another beneficial sitting where we are studying from this very noble and important book in the life of a Muslim, Fortress of a Muslim. And now we have reached hadith number 81, which is on the authority of Abdullah ibn Qannam radiallahu anh, who narrated the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that man qala hina yusbih, anybody who says in the morning, Allahumma ma asbaha bi ni'mah aw bi ahad min khalqik faminka wahdaka la sharika lak falaka alhamdu wa laka ash-shukr faqad adda shukra laylatih aw yawmih. Whoever says this, then he has given thanks for that day or for that night. This has been narrated in Abu Dawood and others. And there's a different narration which says that if anybody who says it in the evening, then they've given thanks for the evening. Or he says it during in the morning, then he has given thanks for the rest of the day. Some of the ulama, including Shaykh al-Albani, said that this narration is weak because there's a narrator called Abdullah ibn Ambasa who is majhul. His status is not known. He cannot be verified. Therefore, the narration is weak. However, Imam Ibn al-Qayyim, Ibn Hajar, Imam al-Nawawi, Shawkani, many from the ulama have said that the hadith is Hasan, and some of them have even said it's Sahih, like Shawkani. So this is hadith number 81. Whoever says, Allahumma ma asbaha bi, in the beginning of the day, min ni'mah, aw bi ahad min khalqik, faminka wahdaka la sharika lak, falaka alhamdu wa laka ash-shukr, then he has given thanks for the rest of the day. Or if he says at the beginning of the night, Allahumma ma amsa bi ni'mah, min ni'mah, aw bi ahad min khalqik, whatever we have from the evening of ni'mah, then this is from you, Allah. So the meaning here, oh Allah, whatever favor that we get from you during this day or this evening, from you or from any of your creation, then all of it is from you alone, and you have no partner in giving this to us. So all thanks is for you, and all perfection is for you, and all gratitude belongs to you, Ya Allah. What we can learn from this is, it's a very small and concise hadith, but there are many favors many benefits that we can gain from it. But we'll just summarize them to maybe 3 or 4 points. The first one, which is that it is part of Tawheed that a person attributes all favors to Allah, because Allah is the one who created them. So even if it comes from the creation, then it is all from Allah Jalla wa Ala, and is part of a person's iman and his tawheed, and the strength of it to attribute all goodness to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it's also part of rububiyyah, so this is maybe the second point. It's also part of rububiyyah that a person attributes all created things to Allah, and the provision from it coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is also, this might seem very obvious, but it's unfortunate that people have become weak in the iman, and they have deviated from this point in Tawheed, where they feel that they themselves are the owners and the creators of their own rizq. Or the other opposite, meaning where people will not be sufficed with what is halal from the rizq, and they will need to seek what is haram in order for them to gain dunyawi benefits, in order for them to attain masses of wealth. But this hadith clearly teaches us here that it's part of your tawheed to attribute all goodness to Allah, and to reaffirm in yourself that to Allah belongs all of the creation, and if all of the dominion belongs to Him, and He has been spending for eternity, and whenever He spends, He doesn't become poor, and He will continue to spend for eternity, then all provision belongs to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is part of His rububiyyah. And whatever He has legislated to you from His religion, then all of that is khair, and it will all be enrichment for you. Even if you go through periods where you are frightful, or you are going through times of difficulty, then all of it is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if He wanted to give you from His provisions, and if provisions was the objective, then He would have given it to you. But that is not the objective. The objective is Jannah. And there's a weak narration that the ulama are agreed in its weakness, but some of the ulama have quoted it, like Ibn Taymiyyah, etc. There's Hadith Qudsi, where the Prophet ﷺ, what is attributed to him in saying from a Hadith Qudsi that Allah says about His slave that I sometimes make my slave weak and I sometimes make my slave strong. Because the one I make weak, had I made strong, I know that he wouldn't use it in a way that was appropriate. And the one I make weak on purpose because this is a favor for him, because had I make him, and the other way around. And the hadith continues to talk about poverty and richness. I make certain ones of my slave poor for that reason, that had I given them richness, they would not have used it properly, and it would have affected the iman, and it would have affected the purpose for what they've been created, which is obviously the akhirah. And the opposite, had we had given people weakness and poverty, then they would have not been able to have sabr with it. So what we can learn from this is that all creation and provision belongs to Allah, and all of it is goodness from Allah, whether it's prosperity or whether it's a time of difficulty. What we learn from this also is from the adab towards Allah, that we show sincerity to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala in whatever He has given us. And part of being sincere to Him is to be sincere to the creation. So if any goodness has come to you from the creation, min ni'matin aw bi ahadin min khalqik, so goodness can come to you from Allah, from one of His created beings. From that, we understand that it's part of sincerity to Allah that we are sincere towards other beings from the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is hadith number 81 in a nutshell. Hadith number 82 is the hadith which has been narrated on the authority of Abdurrahman ibn Abi Bakr, who said, قال سمعت أبي Abu Bakr يدعو بهذا الدعاء, that he used to make this supplication. This has been narrated in Abu Dawud and Ahmad and Nasa'i and others. And Shaykh Al-Albani said that is Hassan, that my father used to use this supplication frequently. Allahumma afini fi badani. Oh Allah, give me protection, give me prosperity. What's it translated as there? Healthy body.
Healthy in my body. Make me healthy in my body.
Afia is a bit more broader than that. I mean, protection and
then it says, oh Allah, preserve me.
Yeah, I mean, that's the meaning. But afia refers to a sense of protection. So Allah, protect me in my body. Let's just go with that for now. Allahumma afini fi badani. Allah, protect me in my body. Allahumma afini fi sam'i. Allah, protect me in my hearing. Allahumma afini fi basari. Protect me in my seeing. La ilaha illa ant. Ghudwatan wa ashiyya. He said that my father used to say this every morning and every evening. And then he said to me once, قال يا بني, my son, إني سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يدعو به, that he made this supplication, and I am only doing it because I heard the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم do this supplication. وأنا أحب, and وأنا أحب, and I love, and أستنى بسنته, and I love to follow the sunnah of his, or I adhere to the sunnah, or create that sunnah in myself with the sunnah that he has left behind. La ilaha illa ant. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal-fakhri wa a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. La ilaha illa ant. Some of the ulama have said that this is a separate hadith. The author has put it here. What seems to be the case, wallahu a'lam, that this is an extension of that narration from Abu Bakr. And all of these have been narrated in Abu Dawud, Nasa'i, Ibn Sunni, Ibn Hibban, and has been made Hassan by many of the ulama, including Ibn Baz and Shaykh Al-Albani rahimahullah. When we learn from this hadith that Abu Bakr, Abu Bakr, he used to do this, and his son, he taught his son why he used to do this. And some of these benefits that we gain from this hadith are taken from the explanation given by Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr, who said that we can learn from this the importance of having good environment, because the son is there with the father, and the father is teaching the son, and the father is making this supplication for him to be protected in his body and his hearing and his sight and his iman, being protected from kufr and poverty and from the adhab al-qabr. So what we can learn from this is the importance of a good environment and having good people around you. Also, what we learn from this is you being upright in your religion, in your worship, and benefiting in your deen consists of these three things that have been mentioned in the beginning of this hadith: your body, your hearing, and your sight. If this is upright, then this will be a protection from you from kufr and poverty and the adhab al-qabr. If you're upright in your body and your hearing and your seeing, this will be a protection for you from kufr and poverty and the adhab and the qabr. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, and this is one of the benefits that he has given to us in his book Al-Jawab al-Kafi. He said that the shaitan, one of the biggest onslaughts that he has upon man and jinn, is to deviate you from your hearing. Deviate you from your hearing. He will focus on you, what you listen to and what you are absorbing into your body through your ears. And his primary way of attack, and he knows this because what he can do with this is sometimes manipulate the way people think and the way they behave. So sometimes he will be direct, and this is what is commonly known as wiswas. And even Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, even the best of people will get wiswas. Even the people who are upright in their religion will get wiswas. Why? Because shaitan knows that the primary form of attack is through the ears. This is one of the most direct ways. There's also another way, which is that what he will do is he will make you think that you are doing something good, when in actual fact you are not doing something good. So sometimes it might be direct, sometimes it might even be possession. May Allah protect us and the Muslimun. But it can also be that he is making you think that you're doing something good, when in actual fact you are not. So it may be that you're listening to muhadarat, or you're listening to nasheeds, or you're listening to whatever you're listening to, thinking that, yeah, this is something from the khair, when in actual fact it's from the plots of shaitan. He went on to continue, Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he will make things sound good, and then eventually it will become accepted for that person. When it becomes accepted, there will be a sense of not thinking that he's doing anything wrong, a sense of negligence, let's say, So why would he want to make tawbah from that? What we can also learn, as Shaykh Abdul Razak al-Badr said, Hafidhullah, that saying La ilaha illallah, as we have here, La ilaha illa ant, is from the biggest ways of us being steadfast. Now, we have to highlight here that it is not verbal, just verbal. It has to be iman in all sense of the word, internal, external, and upon your tongue. And this is from the biggest ways that you can be protected from kufr and faqr and adhab al-qabr. La ilaha illa ant, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika is connected, you see here. La ilaha illa ant, oh Allah, because I've said La ilaha illa ant, I seek refuge in you from kufr and faqr and poverty and from the adhab al-qabr. And we looked at last week how the tahleel and ubudiyyah consists of you having iman and admitting that you have a weakness and that you are asking Allah alone subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you. The narrator here says that we should say this 3 times every morning and every evening. And again, this is from some of the narrations which have been added. So we have now more than one narration from the narration of Al-Baqarah, which has this extra sentence, and we have the amount of times that a person should say this. So a person should be saying this 3 times every evening and every morning. And what we learn from this, as Shaykh Abdul Razak said, that our days consistently revolve around us asking for goodness in our health and our iman, and remaining protected against kufr and punishment in the grave. What we can also learn from this is, a benefit which is, I feel, very important, especially for the youth, people who are not married, where the Prophet ﷺ is asking here to be protected in your body, to protect it in your hearing, and protect it in your sight. Because these 3 things, your body, your hearing, and your sight, are the ways that a person can be deviated either in shahawat or either in shubuhat, either in desires or either in having doubts. So we know that the Prophet ﷺ in other hadith, فَإِذَا أَبْصَرَ أَحَدُكُمْ امْرَأَةً, if the Prophet ﷺ said, if you see a woman, فَلْيَأْتِ أَهْلَهُ, if you see a woman that you have been taken aback by, you have, been pleased with that vision of looking at that woman, then you should go home to your own wife. فَإِنَّ ذَلِكَ يُرُدُّ مَا فِي نَفْسِهِ. By doing this, you will remove whatever attachment you have to that thing that you have seen. This is a hadith from the Prophet ﷺ. What we can learn from this is the Prophet ﷺ is telling us, for you to be upright with all the perversion that is around you, that is trying to corrupt your body, is trying to corrupt your hearing, is trying to corrupt your seeing, and this is for sisters as well as brothers. This could be in a person's sexuality, it might be other fitan. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us, think about the blessings that you have in the goodness and go home and engage in the goodness that Allah has made halal for you. Go home, go with your wife, go home, and if it is something that you are tested in listening to, or tested in watching, or tested in looking at things on your mobile phone, it's become rampant. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us to do the opposite. And what we can also learn from this is, unfortunate that the shabab today, they want everything which is quick pleasure, quick richness, quick success. And it's become very unfortunate that the concept of marriage and what the Prophet ﷺ is telling us here and what we supplicate on a daily basis to be protected from here has become absolutely twisted, where they fear that I don't need to be protected in my body, I can go out and do what I want, that's fine. Or I don't need to be protected in my hearing, I can go out and do what I want and I can listen to it and nothing happens, I'm not punished. I listen to music every day, nothing's happened, I still got my hearing. I can see whatever I want and nothing happens to me. The Prophet ﷺ is teaching us here that these are all, number one of the ways that we can gain, all of these are gradual ways towards a person's destruction. What he ends with, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufr, poverty, and the adhab al-qabr. Allah Jalla wa Ala is as-sabur and shakur, He is al-halim and He is al-rashid. He has time and He has patience with people who disobey. Just because you do one thing that is bad, it doesn't mean you're going to be struck with lightning. It doesn't mean that. But what you are supplicating for here is steadfastness and that Allah keeps you on the right way, so that gradually you are not heading down the wrong way, but you're going down the right way. But like I've said, it's become very unfortunate that people, they want things quickly. And this is not just the shabab, it's become human nature now, unfortunately. And they think that living a life of responsibility is a life which is boring. It's boring. Why would I want to get married? That's boring. I'm stuck with one woman. I have to provide for her. I have to look at her every single day. What's the point in that? I can go out and have fun every single day with different women, and there's no responsibility. It's become boring. The way that you're calling to me is boring. However, the Prophet ﷺ is saying here that what we need to do is have ad'iyah and dhikr and dua, which protects us from that, and there are also practical steps which will help a person to remain upright. Because if we don't do that, you will slowly become deviated. And the sense of consequence and responsibility will leave a person. And partially this is also because people, they don't have the correct understanding of Aqeedah and the Sharia and the framework to understand the beauties of it. They have what is haram beautified for them. But what is often neglected are the evil consequences of that life where there is no responsibility, and people, they don't want to talk about that. You won't find that in the media, you won't find that being highlighted to them, even though on a daily basis you hear of people committing suicide, and they're the most wealthiest of people and the most famous of people. Why? Because they don't have a life of responsibility. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ, who is the most successful man that's ever walked on this face of this earth, he is the most famous, he is the most enriched and the most intellectual, and he is the most successful in all forms, or however you want to look at it. He taught us to be responsible. So if there was a person who was a celebrity and they have millions of followers, or there was a president of a country, or etc., whatever the situation it is, and people take this person as a role model and they're telling you there is no responsibility, you can go out and do what you want, then that is incorrect Islamically. And what you will end up doing in that, society will fail, people will fall into kufr and fakhr, and the akhirah, adhab al-qabr. May Allah protect us. And you can see this everywhere. Your food, your medicine, your clothing, the amount of marketing that people throw at you and say, no, get this one now, tomorrow change it, get this one now. And people are having things dangled in front of their face without any responsibilities and without any consequence or repercussions. Where the Prophet ﷺ is telling us here, no, that is not what is important. The newest thing is not what is important. What is important is steadfastness. And for us to be avoiding a way of indulgence. Because this way is steadfastness. This way will help you control what kind of a death you will end up with. If a person is fickle and he wants all the latest things and he wants to be indulged and he wants all of his desires to be fed to him, how will he be with kufr and faqr and adhab al-qabr? And it's unfortunate now that people have fallen into kufr because of their indulgences. People have become far away from their religion. And as we see in Nawaqid Islam, neglecting Islam completely is a form of kufr in itself. Faqr, they fall into faqr, they think they are getting richer, but the more riba they engage in, the more loans that they engage in, the more they rip people off and take loans and don't pay people back, that is more faqr on Yawm al-Qiyamah. And what happens is, adhab al-qabr, may Allah protect us, because they have not had afiyah in their badan, they've not had afiyah in their sam, and they've not had afiyah in their basar. Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said that this supplication, well, he didn't say this, but this supplication here has Allahumma, Allahumma over again, and La ilaha illa anta. Ibn Qayyim, this is the point, said that the names and attributes benefit the mu'min and it doesn't benefit the mujrim. The names and attributes benefit the mu'min, but it doesn't benefit the transgressor and the criminal. So when a person is saying, oh Allah, protect me in my body, you are supplicating to your ilah, somebody who hears, who responds and wants for your goodness. Then you sandwich that with La ilaha illa ant, and then you end that with La ilaha illa ant. If you want steadfastness, the names and the attributes of Allah, like Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah said, will benefit you if you are a mu'min and you get close to Allah with His iman and tawheed. The more you deviate from afiyah in your badan, in your sam and your basar, the weaker will be your connection between Allah and His names and attributes, and it will not benefit you. And you can see that, it's evident. You can see that. People have the biggest of beards and the whitest of thobes, but the names and attributes of Allah are not in their lives. Because there is a form of jarima that they're doing to themselves. There is oppression, there is no doubt. People have moved away from the tawheed of Allah, and because of that, they are oppressing themselves in their body, they don't even realize it. Remember the last hadith. They are oppressing themselves in their hearing, they don't realize it. They're oppressing themselves in their basar, and they don't realize it. Therefore, afiyah will give you the things in the dunya that everybody else thinks they want, but they are not getting. But it's for the mu'min. In the morning, even 3 times a day, in the dunya, you'll be given afiyah, the success that the whole of the creation, even animals themselves want. Animals themselves want steadfastness. They just want to get through the day without being eaten, whatever it is. They want that steadfastness. They want to be protected in their body, in their hearing, and their seeing, and not go through desperation. For us, desperation is kufr and faqr. And desperation in the akhirah is adhab al-qabr. Steadfastness is being given to you, and success and tranquility is through the names and attributes of Allah, supplicating to Him, pondering on His religion and His ayat, and being steadfastness, or having steadfastness in your body and your hearing and your basar. And this is a benefit that we can also gain, like Shaykh Abdul Razak has said, that Allah sometimes will give afiyah to people in their badan, whether they're Muslim or not Muslim. It's true. There are people who are much more healthier than us, definitely, who are not Muslim. There are people who have better hearing and sight than us who are not Muslim. However, this may be given to a person who is a believer or who is not a believer. Again, remember what we have seen in the previous hadith and in this hadith. The objective is not that you have given a nice body, a nice hearing, a nice sight in the dunya. The objective is not the dunya. If Allah wanted you to have dunya, He would have given you the dunya. But this is Darul Ibtila, as Ibn Kathir said. This is the place where you're going to be tested. Because you're going to be tested, sometimes you might be given from the dunya, sometimes you might not be. You have to remember that. But for you, your concern is, will you be given the last part of this hadith, or will you be deprived from the last part? That is where your success lies. Now you are supplicating to Allah, Allah, make me up firm in these things, that these faculties, these senses that you have given to me, that you have created for me. Oh Allah, make me upright in these things. Whether it's prosperity or adversity, whether it's goodness or not goodness, as in whether it's difficulty or ease. Whatever the case, oh Allah, make me successful in the latter. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufr wal-faqr wa a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. This is a nutshell from this hadith. But what we can learn from this, and there are some fiqhi benefits from this also, and this is a very important benefit here, is why do you make dhikr and dua to Allah? Why do you recite the Quran? Why do you pray salah? Why do you do anything? I'm asking. It's a bit of a deep question, I understand. And there is no right one answer. Probably the right answer is probably on the tip of your tongue, which is to seek Allah's pleasure. That is probably the right, it's the correct, the most concise answer that you can give. Khalas. However, it's become unfortunate that many Muslims don't understand that concept of ikhlas. What you have just said is ikhlas. Now, when a person prays, and actually one thing was just posted through my letterbox the other day, do this kind of durood, X amount of times you become a millionaire. That's actually what it says. Do this formula, you will become a millionaire. Does Allah want you to become a millionaire? Does Allah want you to recite so that you become a millionaire? This is blasphemy in itself. Could be the point that we're gaining here. Allahumma afini, Allahumma afini, Allahumma afini. People only worship Allah to be protected for their own selfish gain. And you will find this in the Ummah in every single sect, including Salafiyya. People want to worship, recite Quran, do dhikr for the sake of the barakah, but not for the sake of the ilm and the fahm. So when you recite the Quran, why? Because it's 10 times. Do you want to recite the Quran so you can learn what it says, so you can ponder on its meaning, so that you can have... That all stems from the ikhlas that you've just mentioned. Why are we saying, oh Allah, protect me in my body? Oh Allah, protect me in my body because I want my body to be protected, and that's it. I don't want no illnesses. Is that the reason? Or is there ilm and faham behind it? Are you saying, oh Allah, protect me so I can go to Jannah? Whatever route that you have decided and decreed for it to happen, that is the route. Allah, make me firm on that. Most of the Muslims will recite the Quran for the sake of barakah. So you'll find Qurra, they won't understand a single word that they are saying. Or they may understand Arabic, but they've never read a book of tafsir. Hasha wa kalla, they'll say, reading the book of tafsir is kufr. Don't even do that. Don't read an English translation of the Quran or Hadith, it will be kufr. It will take you outside the fold of Islam. Why? Recite the Quran and Hadith only for the sake of the barakah. Do dhikr. Why? Don't think about what subhanallah actually means. No. What's the point in that? Do it for the sake of the barakah. And this is how the ummah has become today. The reason why people are reciting the Quran and doing dhikr and praying salah and even fasting in Ramadan and giving the zakat, why? It's all selfish. Wallah al-Azim, it's all selfish. It's not for the sake of Allah. Because had it been like that, we would have known. We would have seen the consequences. Now, this is not mass takfir, and I'm not saying everybody is a mushrik, and I'm not saying that. People have their own excuses and their reasons. There is no doubt about that. Barakah and seeking the barakah from this thing is definitely an objective that we want to gain, that Allah wants to give us these, that we gain these things from Allah. But the primary reason, ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ, what is it? Barakah لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ? No. Hudan. It's a guidance. And the ulama of tafsir is huda means ilm. Huda means ilm and fahm. This is very important here, that afiyah in your body, you have to be conscious of the fact that things around you, things that are happening to you, that you supplicate with that day and now, oh Allah, my children, myself, my family, my house, everything that I'm looking at and touching, there's a fitna connected to it, Ya Allah. Protect me, Ya Allah. And then, after you have made your supplication and tawakkul on Allah, you have to seek what is going to benefit you in your akhirah, in your body, in your hearing, in your sight. Listen to things which are beneficial. Watch those things that are beneficial. Do for your things, body, which are beneficial. Whether it's ibadah, whether it's exercise, whatever it may be, you have to be conscious to this. Why? Because this will protect you from kufr and faqr and adhab al-qabr. Some people want to... part of connected to barakah, some people want to make these supplications, and I've put this here, maybe it should be said somewhere else, but let's just say it anyway, which is that some people will make dhikr of Allah, recite the Quran, etc., because they want shaitan to be far away from them. That's also another reason. Barakah could be a reason. Barakah in the dunya alone could be a reason, like that ta'weez that I got the other day. Because there's no mention of seeking Jannah in it. It's just millionaire. You want to be a millionaire, I'll give it to you. See if it works. But some people, it's just shaitan. Keep shaitan away from you. But what we do learn is, as a side effect from ikhlas, Allah will make you upright. Allah will give you blessings, and Allah will repel shaitan from you. Also, we learn from this dhikr is that the dunya is needed and it cannot be rejected. You need to have a good body, and you need to have good hearing, and you need to have good eyesight. You need to have ilm and access to ilm, which may necessitate that you have some kind of dunya means of getting it. Faqr, poverty, adhab al-qabr, all of these things are connected for you to use the dunya that Allah has given you. Allah is not telling you that you sell your houses and you live a life of poverty. You need that dunya. You need whatever's going to nourish you in your body and your hearing and your sight and keep you away from kufr and faqr so that you can be upright. So the dunya cannot be rejected. What we can also learn from this, as the ulama have mentioned, is that your health is connected to your iman, and both of these things are the capital and the most expensive thing that you own. Your health and your iman is the most expensive thing that you own. If you lose your health and you lose your iman, you could lose the most expensive thing that you own, which is your iman, as in your soul. Hadith number 83. This is on the authority of I don't have the narrator here, but it's been narrated in Abu Dawood, and many of the ulama have said that it's sahih. Some of the ulama have said that it's mawquf to the sahabi, which I don't have here. But others from the ulama have said that it's marfu'. Now, mawquf means that the companion said it, not the Prophet ﷺ. Marfu' means that the companion said it and is attributed to the Prophet ﷺ. That the Prophet ﷺ, من قالها حين يصبح وحين يمسي 7 مرات, whoever says this 7 times in the morning and the evening, كفاه الله ما همه من الأمر الدنيا والآخرة. That Allah will protect him from whatever he is fearing, got anxiety and he's got difficulties with in the dunya and the akhirah. حسبي الله لا إله إلا هو عليه توكلت وهو رب العرش العظيم. Say that 7 times. Allah will suffice you. What is hasb? What is hasb? This has been narrated by Abu Dawood and others, and Ibn al-Qayyim and others have said that it is sahih. Shu'ayb wa Abdul Qadir al-Arnaut have also said that it is sahih. What is hasb? Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said hasb means that we entrust all of our affairs to Allah, no matter how big, no matter how small, and He is sufficient for us subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, this statement is the pinnacle of tawakkul. Tawakkul means, Allah, I've done my best, I leave the rest up to you. Facilitate it for me. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah said, in addition to this, He is the one that we entrust our affairs to. We've done our best. We've tried to stay away from whatever we've tried to stay away from to the best of our ability. Ibn Taymiyyah adds to this that He is the best protector, and if He is the best of protectors, then He is the best of supporters, and you have firm iman and yaqeen in that. This statement actually appears in the Quran twice, and it appears at the end of Surah At-Tawbah, which is in a positive sense, and it appears in Surah Al-Imran in a negative sense. So the positive one is a positive context, and the negative one is a negative context. Therefore, this supplication can actually be said in times of goodness, and it can actually be said in times of difficulty. This is away from saying Hasbi Allah 7 times in the morning and the evening. So, for example, there's a goodness that has happened to you in the dunya. Allah's given you tawfiq to do something. Then you can say this in a way, in a positive context. Hasbi Allah, la ilaha illallah. Or something bad has happened to you, then you can say, Subhanallah, I've tried my best. Now I'm going to say Hasbi Allah. Allah is the one who I leave all of my affairs to. So what's the good one? The good one is that Allah mentions, لَقَدْ جَاءَكُمْ رَسُولٌ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ, that a messenger has come from amongst you, Bani Adam. Azizun alayhi ma anittum. He is actually very he is very wary to the fact that he has left you a legislation, but it might be too difficult for you. This is the description. He has left us a sharia, he's left us a religion, and he is fearful that he has left you with something that is too hard. At the same time, harisun alaykum bil mu'minina ra'ufur rahim. But at the same time, he wants good for you. He is scared that they might be too hard, but at the same time, he wants you to get to Firdaus. How are you going to get that? That's the characteristic of the Prophet ﷺ. He is ra'ufur rahim. So wherever he found a way that you can get to Firdaus in the easiest way, he legislated it. He asked Allah to give it to you. He sought for himself in himself. And he is ra'ufur rahim for that. But if they turn away, the people who reject you, Ya Rasulullah, فَإِن تَوَلَّوْا فَقُلْ حَسْبِيَ اللَّهُ, Allah is sufficient for you. Allah is going to perfect His religion. Allah is going to fill Jannah up with people, whether it's you or not you. So goodness, don't worry about it. Hasbi Allah, Allah is sufficient for me. La ilaha illahu, there is no God or deity worthy of worship except Him. Alayhi tawakkalt, all of my affairs I leave for Him. Wa huwa Rabbul Arshil Azim. Why has Arshil Azim been mentioned here? Because there is nothing greater in the creation than the Arsh, in size, in majesty, in power, in beauty. If He is the Lord of a throne which is bigger than the heavens and the earth, we put next to each other. We know that the hadith, that the difference between the Arsh and the Kursi is like a ring that is thrown into the desert. The Kursi is the ring and the desert is the Arsh. The size of the Kursi is if all of the heavens and all of the earths were put together side by side, that would be the same ratio between the heavens and the earth, the heavens and the earth and the Kursi. So look at the multiplication when it comes to the Arsh of Ar-Rahman. You can think about the beauty, you can think about that being the closest being, created thing that we know of that is closest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the Rabbul Arshil Azim. If you turn away, then Allah Jalla wa Ala has creation which are much bigger and better than you. However, from Allah's goodness and barakah and His justice and His mercy towards you, He can make you live right next to the Arsh. Even though you're not even a ratio, you're not even a 0.00, you're not nowhere near it. But if you turn to Allah in La ilaha illallah, you have tawakkul and you have the components of iman, of love and hope and fear and tawakkul. You turn to Allah in that manner, look how Allah can elevate you, even you are a small speck from His creation, even though that you don't even deserve it. If you turn away, then khalas, all goodness is for Allah. That's the goodness. Repelling bad and the bad context and the depression and the anxiety and the disunity and Hamza being killed, radiyallahu an Asadullah, and all of those people that were affected in Medina being exposed to an enemy that was going to attack. There's so many things that this context talks about. الَّذِينَ اسْتَجَابُوا لِلَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْقَرْحُ. There are those people, despite all of that difficulty, they responded to Allah and His Messenger even in the time of difficulty. Abu Sufyan sent these people who were believers, firm in the iman, to say, listen, don't come out and chase us because we will defeat you. قَالْهُ النَّاسِ إِنَّ النَّاسُ قَدْ جَمَعُوا لَكُمْ فَخْشَوْهُمْ. Fear them. فَزَادَهُمْ إِيمَانًا. But those people who had iman increased in their iman. And what did they say in that negative context? وَقَالُوا حَسْبُنَا اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. What happened to them? فَانْقَلَبُوا بِنِعْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَضْلٍ لَمْ يَمْسَسْهُمْ سُوءٌ. Allah replaced their bad for good, their anxiety to happiness, their fear to security, all of the negatives to good. لَمْ يَمْسَسْهُمْ سُوءٌ. They were taken away from any kind of bad that was going to afflict them, and they feared that was going to afflict them. وَاتَّبَعُوا رِضْوَانَ اللَّهِ. They gained the pleasure of Allah. وَاللَّهُ ذُو الْفَضْلِ الْعَظِيمِ. And Allah multiplied the fadl that He was going and He gave to them because of that. Hasbi Allah, la ilaha illahu. So if you say this, imagine if you say this every morning and evening 7 times. Look at the barakah that you can gain that you don't even know that you can gain. What are some of the virtues of this statement? This is the statement of Tawheed, as we have seen. And that is sufficient as a virtue in itself. That, oh Allah, you are sufficient for me because there is no God worthy of worship except you. You are the one that has created me, and you are the one that controls everything, and all dominion belongs to you, and all majesty and splendor belongs to you. For you, in you, I have complete reliance. That's it. You are my master, I'm your slave. Whatever you have decreed from the good and the bad, I have trust in you, Ya Allah. Even in the badness, I have trust in you. I know there is goodness in this. And you are the Rabbul Arsh al-Azim. You want me to gain closer to you, and the closest position towards the Arsh. So I'm turning to you, I'm not turning away from you. This is a statement of Tawheed. But it also brings stability into that individual. It brings stability in his Iman. And as we have seen in the ayah of Al Imran, it wasn't just individuals that got stability, the whole community got stability. The whole Medina got stability. The whole army got stability. What we can also learn from this statement, Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa rabbul arshil azim, is that a person, whenever he makes Allah sufficient for him, and this is not again lip service, Allah will facilitate his affairs. وَمَن يَتَّوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ فَهُوَ حَسْبُهُ. Whoever relies on Allah, then Allah is sufficient. إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ قَدْ جَعَلَ لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدْرًا. Allah, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَالِغُ أَمْرِهِ, all of the affairs go back to Allah, and Allah will make the affairs easy for those people. So when Allah is sufficient for you, then there will be a sense of facilitation for it. There is no doubt about that. And it's part of you saying Hasbi Allah. It's part of you having tawakkul in knowing that Allah will help you, no matter how bad the situation is. Also, what we learn from this is that when a person is scared, when a person is in a sense of fear, if he says this statement, then Allah will take him away from that fear. There's a hadith that has been narrated which is classed as da'if by some of the ulama, but some of the ulama have said it is hasan. إِذَا وَقَعْتُمْ فِي الْأَمْرِ الْعَظِيمِ. If something has happened to you, and it is azim, as in it's going to be something which is very detrimental to your safety, your well-being, it's a very frightful situation, فَقُولُوا حَسْبُنَ اللَّهُ وَنِعْمَ الْوَكِيلُ. What we have learned from this, Ibn Taymiyyah has used this, and others from the ulama have used this, that when you say Hasbi Allah, La ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa rabbul arshil azim, or the concise version, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel, or Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, Allah will protect you and take away the anxiety that you have in your dunya. So it could be anxiety when it comes to your children. It could be anxiety when you're walking down the street. It could be anxiety in your life, your job. It could be absolutely anything. It's also a statement of the people of the Akhirah. It's also a statement, we'll end with this, it's also a statement with the people of the Akhirah. Why? Because on a day when there will be a day of great terrors, people will be naked and they will be sweating according to the level of sin. The sun will be above their head, the hellfire will be brought forward, there will be huge creations that they've never seen before. It is a day that Allah will be angry in a day that He has never been angry before. The Prophet ﷺ said about this day, كَيْفَ أَنْعَمْ, how can I enjoy the pleasures of this dunya? وَصَاحِبُ الْقَرْنِ, the person, Israfil, has taken to the trumpet. He has taken to the trumpet. And he has put it against his lips. How can I enjoy that? The bounties of this dunya when the amr of the nafkh is about to happen. And the companions, when they heard this, and this is what the narrator is saying, فَكَأَنَّ ذَلِكَ ثَقُلَ عَلَى أَصْحَابِ النَّبِيِّ, they became very, very frightful. The best of mankind, the safest of mankind, is worried about himself. And he's saying that I can't enjoy my food, I can't enjoy my drink, I can't enjoy my women, I can't enjoy my clothes, I can't laugh, genuinely I can't laugh. This laughing is not a genuine sense of laughing, because internally, كيف أنعم, how can I genuinely be happy when I know with full yaqeen that this angel is about to blow? It's just a matter of time. So the companions understood that very, very well. So the Prophet ﷺ said, قولوا, when you have that level of fear in the Akhirah, حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل, على الله توكلنا. You say this, Allah will repel from you the anxiety, not of the dunya. We've just looked at the dunya. This is the greatest one where the Prophet ﷺ himself instructed his companions. Say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Allah tawakkalna. Allah will repel from you the anxiety that you fear for yourself, for the adhab al-qabr, for the standing, for wanting to be underneath the arsh of Rahman, for wanting to drink from the Hawd, for wanting to cross the Sirat successfully, for wanting to get to Jannah without any punishment and without any reckoning. If you want that, and you have a genuine concern for that, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Allahi tawakkalna. What we can learn from this, and like I said, this is just a few more benefits and then we'll finish. That is permitted for a person to say, what we learn from this, and the ulama have got from this here, is that this is an ayah from the Quran. But is it permissible for a person to say an ayah from the Quran without the intention of reciting the Quran? Can you say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim? Or do you need to have wudu? Or do you need to be free from janaba? The ulama have taken from this that if you have the intention of not reciting an ayah, but it is an ayah, but it's not for the purpose of recitation, then it is permissible. So a woman can say this if she's on her menses, you can say this if you're in your janaba. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, hasbi Allah la ilaha illa huwa tawakkaltu wa rabbul arshil azim, with the intention of dhikr, not with the intention of reciting the Quran. What we can also learn from this is that this is to be said sab'a marrat. So you're supposed to say this 7 times morning and evening. Now, this is known with the ulama as something which is muqayyid, which is restricted. So we've seen before 3, we've seen 4, we've seen 100, we've seen 7 now. The muqayyid must remain as muqayyid. So now if I was to say, for example, can I do Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, Allahu Akbar 50 times, not 33. I'll do 50. You'll find this in some of the books also. Do it 50, don't do it 33. It's better if you do 50. Can you do that? No. The narration which has specified a particular number is muqayyid, and it must be restricted in that manner, and you can't change that. Even if there are other narrations which are telling you to be plentiful in that. So now we have another narration where the Prophet ﷺ told us to do istighfar 100 times a day. But there's also other narrations where Allah is telling us to make istighfar generally, mutlaq. Can we now change that 100 to make it 150 and say that extra 50 is from the general and the 100 is from the specific restricted? Can we do that? The answer to that is no. The answer to that is no. We have to stick to the one that has been restricted. However, we can make something which is unrestricted in times of unrestriction with the intention of unrestriction. Does that make sense? So now, if I am sitting after Salat al-Asr or Salat al-Maghrib and I want to do tasbih, subhanallah, 33 times, can I change that to 50? No, because I'm sitting in this position after the Salah. However, if I've walked out the door and I think to myself, you know what, I'm just going to make subhanallah, just for the sake of saying subhanallah, and I want to do it 50 times. Can you do that? Yes, because now you are in a situation of it being unrestricted and mutlaq. So the same thing that we learned from this. Now, what we have seen is some of the virtues of saying Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Hasbi Allah la ilaha illa huwa tawakkaltu wa rabbul arshil azim. Some of these are muqayyid when it comes to the morning and evening. However, some of them are muqayyid when it comes to ease, and some of them are muqayyid when it comes to difficulty, but some of them are unrestricted also. You could just genuinely be reciting the Quran and you read ayat of Jannah or Jahannam and it startles you. What would you say in that scenario? Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Is there a limit? No, there is no limit. Until you become satisfied with your iman, that now you have maybe calmed down a little, or whatever the case. If you want to just continue, then that is also fine. So what we learn from this is just the general principle in mutlaq and muqayyid. You can apply this to Hasbi Allah. You can apply this to any single one of them. You can apply this to even Allahumma afini, the narration that we've seen before. You can apply this to istighfar. You can apply this to any single one of these. You can apply it to tasbih and tahmeed. This is the distinction between muqayyid and mutlaq. I ask Allah to make this beneficial for us all, and that He grants us prosperity in the dunya, in the akhirah, in our iman, in our health, and that He takes us, and that He is happy with us, and that He is not angered with us. Oh Allah, take us with us when You are happy with us and not angered with us. Whatever situation that may be, wherever we may be, O Allah, protect us and our loved ones from being humiliated in the dunya and the akhirah. Make us of those who have lisan as-sidq, qadam as-sidq, and maq'ad as-sidq in the dunya and the akhirah. هذا والله أعلم وصلى اللهم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Next Saturday is going to be the 20th of Ramadan, which is going to be the 21st night. And Sheikh Muhammad al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah has a book where he authored, and he also has a series of lectures which has been translated or transcribed into a book, which he used to deliver lectures every single night in Ramadan. Some of it is in Haram, some of them in different places. This book has been put together, and towards the end of the book, obviously, he is talking about the last 10 nights. So he's talking about making tahajjud, he's talking about i'tikaf, he's talking about increasing, and he's talking about there are different things that you can benefit from that book. He's talking about Zakat al-Fitr, he's talking about the adab of Eid, etc. So what we are going to do, bi'idhnillah, is next week and the week after, move away from Hisn al-Muslim and bi'idhnillah focus on that book where the Shaykh will benefit us from spirituality, but also ahkam also. May Allah have mercy on him. Anybody got any questions? Yes, Hassan. Yeah.
Do you say that section 3 times each and then move on to Allah?
So this is the dispute that the ulama have had. Allahumma afini fi badani, until we say la ilaha illa ant. Is that one, or is Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal faqri part of it? Now, some of the ulama have said that this is separate. So some of them say that you should say Allahumma afini fi badani, Allahumma afini fi badani, also la ilaha illa ant 3 times, and then you should say the next one 3 times. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal faqri wa a'udhu bika min al-qabr. La ilaha illa ant 3 times. However, like we've said, what seems to be the case, and I think this is what the author has gone with, and this is the opinion of Ibn Baz and others from the ulama, is that all of them have been narrated from this narration of Abu Bakr, but they all have additions which come up with this conclusion that we have in the book, which is that all of it, with the additions through other narrators and other narrations, we have this concluding hadith, which is Allahumma afini fi badani, Allahumma afini fi sam'i, Allahumma afini fi basari, la ilaha illa anta, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal faqri wa a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr, la ilaha illa anta. You would say that from the beginning to the end 3 times. If you did it the other way, you're saying the same thing. It's just you're saying it in a different way. So it makes no real difference. Bi'idhnillah. So the matter is broad. Alhamdulillah. Barakallahu feekum, bi'idhnillah. See you next week. Subhanakallah wa bihamdihi. You got another one? Go on.
You know when you say Allah inni a'udhu bika min al-kufri wal faqri, the faqr part, is that when you have the intention, and you mentioned it, but just explain it more in the dunyawi sense, so not be free from poverty, not having debts and everything, but also in that sense of akhirah as well.
Yeah, so what does faqr, what does poverty mean in this hadith number 82, or narration number 82? Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-kufr wal faqr wa a'udhu bika min adhab al-qabr. One of the things that we learn, and this is a general principle, which is that whenever you have sifat that are connected to one another in the text, then they explain one another. فَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ وَاسْتَغْفِرْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ تَوَّابًا. Tasbih and istighfar are connected. This is an act of worship in itself, and the Prophet ﷺ exemplified that when he was making ruku and sujood. When we have khufr and faqr and adhab al-qabr put together, they are explaining one another. So now, when we are saying Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-faqr, do we stop there? No, because that's not the objective. The objective is, oh Allah, protect me from kufr, protect me from poverty, protect me from the adhab al-qabr, because each and one of them are connected to the other. Well, make me upright in my iman and my tawheed, so therefore I can be protected from poverty in the sense of the spiritual sense, but also in the dunyawi sense. So that when you have iman, you are not restricted with inability with faqr. When you have iman, and this is again one of the things that we are going through as a ummah, because we are seeking the barakah and not seeking the fahm. When you are seeking kufr to be lifted from you, when people are saying la ilaha illallah, when you have an interpretation and he has an interpretation, what does la ilaha illallah mean? I guarantee if you went to see center right now, you went outside the masjid right now and asked them what is la ilaha illallah, you ask 10 people, you would at least get 3 or 4, maybe even more, maybe even 10 different meanings to what la ilaha. It means no creator. Or it means there is no worship. There is no subdue. There is no connection. There's so many different interpretations. When this is the basis, this is the thing that we should all be agreed on, which is Tawheed, which is Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah and Asma' wa Sifat. When we move away from that, that's when we just start seeking the blessings, and when we start seeking, oh Allah protect me, or Allah make me rich, or whatever it is. The meaning here is, oh Allah, keep me upright in my iman, give me facilitation in my dunya, make me pass away when you are happy with me so I don't have adhab al-qabr. That's the nutshell. That is success. And when your soul is taken from you, that's when the adhab or the bliss of the qabr will begin. You can only have that if you are saved from kufr and faqr. Kufr in the spiritual sense, but also in the physical sense. Because people will say La ilaha illallah, and they will not do an act of shirk in their life, but they are still doing acts of kufr and nifaq and shirk on a daily basis. And again, this is not mass takfir. This is exemplifying to people that there is a problem with people not knowing what tawheed and iman is truly, and being happy in that sense. So when you see a person who scores a goal and he plays football and he makes sujood and you think, yeah, he's a good Muslim, going to support his football team. This is the example of iman. Where have we gone wrong? We have gone drastically wrong when people think that that is iman, and that's what he should be doing, and that's what makes a person upright. Wallahu al-musta'an. Kufr and faqr has to have that spiritual sense, but also it has to go back, like we've said over again, iman, tawheed, going back to the fahm salaf as-salih, lan yuslah akhir hadhihi al-ummah, the end of this ummah will not have its affairs rectified illa ma salaha awwalaha, except what? Rectified the very first. What did they make firm? For 13 years people were being killed. Why? Because la ilaha illallah was being firm in their heart, in their minds, in their practice. That was poverty. When the dunya was opened for them, la ilaha illallah in its true sense spreaded, and it didn't go down. Why? Because that firm foundation was there. So now let me tell you, if a person was to give a Muslim who has la ilaha illallah but not firm, give him £1 million, what's going to happen? You see this on a daily basis. The beard is gone, the ma'asi, the salah is gone, everything's gone. Why? Because la ilaha illallah wasn't firm. So what we are asking here, oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from being diverted from that firmness in iman and tawheed and my objective for the reason why I've been created. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you that the dunya becomes greater for me as an objective than anything else, or that there is a restriction for me in my dunya which will make my deen difficult. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you when I leave this dunya from the adhab al-qabr. جزاكم الله خير وسبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.